Hello and welcome to my non-crit Autobomber. I would like to credit Perry the Pig with creating this build. I don't think I would have attempted the non-crit build. I just wanted to see how far it goes. Autobomber is already a staple of the builds, and his version includes not trying to force crit on something that doesn't have crit support. Void Knight is particularly bad at crit support. Um, let's just have a look at what kind of gear I have and what are my plans with the tune. So I'm running with an Omnividence. One of them dropped. It's rare enough. I had to try it. I really appreciate the -8 void spell mana cost. The speed doesn't really do much for me because I'm not casting, I'm auto casting, and I'll show you how to do that as well. And void damage could have been better, but it's what I got. I went with max skills because I wanted to see first if I can pump up the damage in ideal conditions. So my survivability kind of took a hit because of that. This is my helmet. Because it's a non-crit build, the 60% crit strike multiplier implicit doesn't do anything, but I'm keeping this one around just in case I can transition at one point into crit. This is my chest piece. I kind of like Abyssal Echoes. It also has like Void as a secondary thing, like increased Void damage percentage. Why not? This one didn't roll that well, but it still has like tier 6 Abyssal Echoes and, of course, tier 5 increased Void damage with spell Void damage. Since this is a non-crit build, I'm trying really, really hard to scale the base damage as much as I can. And I'll show you what I did different from his to achieve that. I'm using an Omnis because I realized I really, really, really like the extra levels on everything, especially with Void, since you convert all of the spells that you use to Void. You really want them to maximize their potential, and I kind of didn't know what else to slot in here. I'm not going for crit, so maybe 12% void penetration with like damage over time. Oh, sorry, not damage over time, with spell damage is going to do the trick. But I just feel like the +1 plus all of the resists kind of works, even if I lose like 75 life over it. We're stacking vitality anyway. I was lucky enough to get a Siphon of Anguish that does its job correctly. This one applies Doom. It's kind of weak, but I like the leech. I like the movement speed. I like the leech rate, particularly good. And this one was good enough to roll with like almost maximum tier 6. Gotta use it. These are my boots. Yes, that is a tier 7 goddamn roll of vitality. And it still has 4 forging potential, so instead of doing what I usually do, which is try to re-roll them and brick them completely with minimum rolls, I'm going to copy this right now because they're amazing. And the good news is you can definitely do this again. I could just slap these bad boys on a pair of boots that I want to get like massive HP on, and they're going to be good to go. Meanwhile, they're good to use as is. Remember, Vitality gives you 10 HP, so this is 150 flat HP on top of the other great rolls. What an amazing item. I decided for this slot to use Grimoire of Necrotic Elixirs because why not? It has health, it has up to 4 Vitality, which is flat spell damage, and the on-use effect is insane. You can take this into any tier 4 dungeon. And it's going to do its magic. Trust me, Grimoire of Necrotic Elixirs is a very underused item. Like, I use it for Julra beams in case I know that I'm playing a new build and I suck. I take it to Lightless Arbor for the Heart of the Mountain. Sorry, Lightless Arbor, yeah, for the Heart of the Mountain fight. That boss deals a lot of poison damage. So just popping one pot means I take 39% less of it. It's just generic damage reduction against Void, Poison, and Necrotic, so it works on dots as well. And naturally, I'm going to take it to today's demo fight, which is killing the Emperor of Corpses in the Reign of Dragons timeline because I need to cap my crit avoidance. Belt is absolute garbage, but it just has a ton of life and the cleanse prefix that I needed. I'm gonna have to slot in something better. My ring, I just wanted more mana regen. I was running around with Abyssal Echoes on cast and I was running out of mana. This one just has crit strike avoidance and massive HP. Also tier 7, Jesus Christ, I got kind of a lot of gear here. The thing that made it possible and gave Perry the idea is Singularity, which seems a bit weak upon first inspection. You give up crit for up to 20% more hit damage. The idea that this works non-crit is made possible. But if you ever want to roll crit, I want to show you what else you can do. You can use LP Prismatic Gaze. 4% crit strike chance here is base. So it takes your spells from 5% crit chance to 9. Also, 9% less or up to 10% less elemental damage taken is really good. Yeah, general, really good. Also, you can probably try not to use an Omnividence and try to use a Rune Dagger for the 4% implicit. Mana cost might get a little crazy, but maybe there's ways to play around that. And finally, for absolute tankiness, this is what I'm going to want to get. If I get 2 LP and they're both prefixes, I can make these two bad boys come hand in hand, and you can get an extra 15% damage reduction while using a two-handed weapon, which Omnividence is because it is a staff. Also, a lot of HP, which is really cool. The build basically just stacks HP through the roof. That's why we take the basic things that we need. These I should probably find a way to like fill up. I was going with the lunge, but now I gave that up. So basically vitality, damage resistance, generic void damage applies to spells, attacks, thrown attacks. So this is great. Generic void damage, massive leech. You leech basically 6% of void damage's health, which is great. I'm experimenting with future strikes. I know it's a dot. I know. But I have a lot of void damage percent, and I just thought to myself, why not? Since you apply one on every hit and Devouring Orb spins a lot, I just said, you know what? If it does it every hit, maybe it's worth the damage increase. Otherwise, I can just waste 4 points here and go for Singular Purpose, which means I cannot block, but I do get the free 100% void damage. Vitality again, and also Convert Smite, which is another contender I'm thinking about. And then we go the Echo route, basically. But enough is enough. Let's try to... Oh, before we do that, let's see what I did different. So basically, you have to come here to take Harbinger of Dust, because that is 30% extra damage. It's a more multiplier for whatever damage you do. Also, when you cast Volatile Reversal, it does it on arrival and at start. And basically you hit twice. So each time you cast it, that's 60% more damage taken. Other than that, I've taken the CDR route here, but I don't need any cast speed or attack speed, so I just went with move speed. And since this is also a spell, and it's also void, I just decided with the extra points I'm just going to go with Disintegration. Maybe I'll take a point out and go for the extreme cooldown recovery speed once Perry kind of explains how to do that, because I have no idea. I keep running out of mana, or I have too much mana. There's no in between. Sigils are pretty self-explanatory. Generic damage, chance to cast on kill. Then we take the damage per active sigil, which is +3. We transform that into void damage, and this also gives us like 15% each sigil we have. We take the extra one. We have 4, so that's 12 flat, plus 60% void damage when we have them all up. The rest of them are utility, which is armor, duration, and of course the extra sigil. This is where I differ a lot from what Perry did, which is I took the right nodes, all of them, just like he did. Extra casts, repeated, right? Then you have additional chains, and then you have echo damage. So whenever you cast it, the following echoes that happen are going to have that much more damage. But then I decided to take 1 point in the Vorpal Reverberation, 5 out of 5 Abyssal Decay duration, because now that it's cast instantly, it's going to do some damage. And I took Armor Shred stacks, because if I'm not a crit build, I'm going to be even more affected by how much armor enemies have, and this thing lets me shred armor like nobody's business. It's actually working pretty well. On Devouring Orb, I realized that points in Sightless Star, usually we invest in this because the costs get out of hand and you go But even with like 3 points, it went from 9 to 6 mana cost, and I said to myself, that's not enough, so I did the same thing. Max Extinction for damage, and then all of these other nodes make it basically work. You can read what they do. This is already pretty long. Cooldown recovery speed, and of course, Abyssal Orb frequency for more hits. And this is again where I kind of deferred from him. I realized that I don't need Anomaly for what we usually use it for, which is crit. So instead of that, I realized that with level 22, what I could do is make it instant, so it doesn't send enemies forward in time, and the effects apply immediately. And then I took Time Bubble, Duration, Time Bubble cast on me, one point in manipulation because I don't care about attack speed and cast speed. I'm not casting it. It's just ongoing, basically. The speed of the cast isn't going to affect CDR. Cooldown recovery speed, leech, and 1 point in void maw because I wanted to come here. The time, rot, effect, and duration do not matter because we're not a void damage over time build. Those don't work. I've tried 4 of them and the damage is not there. So the fact that I apply some time, rot is whatever. But when enemies return to the present, they take increased void damage for a duration, and that duration is 5 seconds. So I can anomaly a mob, immediately takes 100% increased void damage, and then I can definitely do volatile reversal, and if I take 1 more point here, I'm going to do volatile, 60% more damage taken. I'm going to then do anomaly, 100% more damage taken, and then probably at the end I can overlap it with just 1 more volatile reversal if I take this final point, and that's going to give me another 60% damage taken. So hopefully, I don't know if you can make all of those 3 last even for a second, but if you make it last for 1 second, any devouring orb that orbits you is going to hit for a ton of damage. Let's hope that's how it works. Right now I was doing Reign of Dragons because I only have 97% crit avoidance and we can't have that. We can't go into Empowered without that. So I wanted to showcase the bossing, the damage, and I kind of want to know how I'm standing on this build. I already have like 73 vitality. Character has 4,167 life. It could have much better life if I fix some idols and things. And I kind of went with a bit for mana regen because I've thought to myself that I could make it work. So we're going to do the Emperor of Corpses right now. I didn't want to cheat because usually I will just do this with no damage mods. And I took rare enemies have 99% increased health and damage, basically. And of course, they heal if they haven't been damaged recently because I want to show you exactly how powerful Grimoire of Necrotic Elixirs is. I'm already using Ravenous Void, so I have 15% DR. And now for the numlock trick. If you have a keyboard that has numlock, you activate it, then you keybind these 2 abilities to a keybind on your notepad, right? And then you press them, you untap numlock so it's off, and now my character just self-casts. Notice that my mana is going down because Abyssals is really expensive. If that happens and I'm too low to engage a boss, I find a safe spot to wait. I open my inventory, or even better, my map, and I just hover something on my mouse because Abyssal Echoes is cast where your mouse pointer is. If you're hovering over something and it can't cast, it stops casting and your mana just replenishes because you cannot consume it fast enough. So I'm going to do this with auto cast to show you how it feels. You'll notice that I might run out of mana, which is completely possible, but you'll see exactly how the build functions when that happens. So we do this just to get some flat, and we're off. So this, we press 1. Grimoire of Necrotic Elixirs took care of that. Look at the damage, please. Just look at the damage. Like, that's marketably insane. Jesus Christ. All right. All right. Pop a potion. Doesn't do that much damage, and we run out of mana. This is my issue. I don't know how to balance these 2 things out, to be honest. I don't think I need to, but it just feels like I should, basically. And whilst we're in his thing, every single orb that circulates me, as you can see, because that's what the other nodes are doing, does exactly that. They do exactly that. They have to go around and go through his model, hitting him every single time. Watch out for his breath. It's still quite a bit of damage because it's dot necro, which means armor doesn't do anything. And we're kind of done. Kind of works. So I don't know. I feel like the damage is good, and I really, really, really feel like this. I really feel like this thing is going to be OP on multiplayer because you can just pair this with a rogue. The rogue can get void shred, armor shred, and it can also cap your crit really easy because it has crit vulnerability. So basically, all you have to do is just play like a regular non-crit build. Then when your friend who's a rogue comes online and you're like, hey, let's duo this, you take Singularity out. Congratulations, you're now a full crit build. And that's it. That's all you gotta do. He's going to give you 100% crit versus any mob or boss in about 2 seconds flat if you build him correctly. Rogue support is gonna be something in multiplayer, trust me. So anyway, that's my build. I did it video format because I don't know how to find my own saves. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this inspires you to give it a try. It's actually pretty interesting, and it might prove very scaly and very cool when it's going to come to multiplayer as well. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks again, Perry, for the idea. I'm going to keep experimenting with it. Have a good time. Until next time.